My name is Mary Braselton. I am the Interim Dean for Social and Behavioral Sciences and Business at Midland College, located in Midland, Texas. We are a community college who transfer primarily to 4 or 5 regional universities, and my comments today will be made in reference to the state of Texas. Articulation and transfer have become very hot topics in the last few semesters and years, primarily because of the competition for students. That one issue, competition, along with self-education and knowledge, provides the very best bargaining tools that community colleges have regarding transfer and articulation issues in education. Let's take self-education and the resulting knowledge from 2 perspectives. First, the student. Second, the instructor. The student. Teach your students the importance of advising. Advising should be early and frequent, and it should be ideally handled by a very caring and knowledgeable advisor. But in that process, the student should always apply Ronald Reagan's advice: trust but verify, and learn how to be his own best advocate. That means that he must learn the jargon of transfer, of admissions, particularly that obsolete term electives. The students should learn how to use a college catalog. There are 2 essential terms that every transfer student must know. The first is transfer, and the second phrase is count toward graduation. First, just because a course transfers doesn't mean it's actually going to count toward graduation. A course that gets tossed in that elective basket is probably a course that shouldn't have been taken to begin with. Second, teach the student to use more specific terminology when talking to a transfer counselor. Does this course count toward graduation? In Texas, the AAT consists of 3 possible courses. Most of us only offer 2 in that degree. But when a student graduates with an AAT degree, universities are required by law to accept those courses in that degree, in toto, in transfer. This is the trouble spot, because although these courses will transfer, sometimes they don't count towards certification. Some Texas universities do comply with that law, but they have created extra courses to fit into the curriculum for Education 1301 and Education 2301. They might have similar content, but in the end they do not count toward that certification. As one aside, one very astute Vice President of Instruction made this statement, that all it's going to take is one savvy student to file a complaint with the coordinating board to have that transfer protocol for that particular student investigated and hopefully remediated. That is why it is so important to educate our students. It is why it's so important for instructors to actually know their state's law so that we can help students become their own best advocates. Now, speaking from the instructor standpoints, the first fact in Texas is that every freshman and sophomore course is listed and described in a document called the Academic Course Guide Manual, which we refer to as the ACGM. There are some 206 pages in this document. You can find this document by Googling ACGM and Texas to view this manual. Your state probably has the same document in some form. The second fact is that the ACGM lists only lower division courses, and this is important. There is no such manual for upper division courses. So there's not a good way to cross-reference courses from the colleges of education that they might draw from in order to fill out their certification programs. That means that the community college agents, that's us, that's vice presidents of instruction, that's executive vice presidents and presidents, must deal individually with each university to secure articulation agreements that tell us exactly how our courses are going to count toward graduation. You see, in Texas, universities can ask the coordinating board to just start up a new course by making the appropriate applications. The courses that they create will probably have different numbers from the community college, confusing, and universities will have even different numbering systems from university to university, even more confusing when you try to compare apples to apples. Therefore, utilizing universities' websites and catalogs is essential. So, as part of our we instructors, education, we should know that there are many disciplines such as business and management and engineering where there's a great deal of similarity in courses and programs and even common numbering. But in education, where there is some similarity, many courses are developed and sequenced in ways that are very unique to that university. A third fact to be aware of is that in Texas there is now a 120-hour graduation rule. And that means the community college is charged with graduating students with no more than 60 hours. Therefore, that leaves 60 hours for the university to complete their certification process. Sometimes there are exceptions to that with education, that should be noted. So that 120 hours should solve the problem of transfer course for course, but it doesn't. One primary reason it does not solve the problem is that students often change majors a couple of times before finally deciding what they're going to do. Thus, those extra elective courses accumulate. The fourth and final point for instructors is in the form of a recommendation. Each instructor should include transfer protocol in the syllabus for each education course and program. This way, the topic of transfer is discussed from the very beginning of class with a review of that document. Students actually have a copy of the law, as it were, to remind them in print about how to speak intelligently about their courses which should transfer. As an aside, yesterday we had an organizational meeting for Education Society at Midland College, and I had asked the students to make a list of things that they would like to discuss during our meetings. One of the most important ones that came out first was, we need to know about transfer. What are we supposed to do next? So obviously that will be one of our very early meetings. I should mention that course for course in Texas, private universities normally transfer the AAT seamlessly. Perhaps this statement is a good way to close for both the instructor and the student. Knowledge is power in transfer and articulation.